this idea of financial coaching came up as a way to bridge the gap with non-interest income, considering everything that's going on with the CFPB right now. I know that Shannon McClay, who's been a guest on the podcast, and she founded the Financial Gym back in 2014. She is actually going to be out at NACUSO next week, and she's looking at taking the Financial Gym model and integrating that within that of credit unions, to where, so it's just interesting when I wrote Banking on Digital Growth, you've got the physical branch location, and within the physical branch location, if people are not coming into that branch, I mean, even last week talking to a credit union, they had their, looking at the last 4 years, branch traffic, well, we would say, reframe this, 70 to 80% of transactions now are done digitally. 20% are being done in the branch. And then when I followed up, well, what are people coming to the branch for? They said conflict resolution, or they need some deeper expertise and guidance around buying a car, buying a home, business, etc. So I said, well, what are you going to do with all of those branches? And they said, well, that's the big question that we're working through right now. And so thinking about the Financial Gym model and what Shannon has, to use your words, Marshall, productized, but she's now looking at taking and licensing that type of an IP into the local credit union market. To me, becomes an exponential multiplier of capability. But I think the thing that's going to hold this back the most, and I was talking with Steve Swanston, who's also a member here in the community, is he said someone's going to have to run this type of a model for credit unions for it to really become a reality, because there's a lot of culture that's going to drive this. I know, Marshall, you're in a very unique situation being at OnTap. You're supported. You got executive buy-in. There's a belief there. But if you think about like the idea of culture and number one, establishing a culture of learning, to then expand that to have a culture of coaching, I think those are two steps that must come in tandem ahead of bringing this idea of coaching to the forefront. But I think, Rich, that's where the work that you're doing around data would provide even more value, because there was a study that was done by McKinsey, and I've talked to a couple of financial advisors about this to get their take. McKinsey, this was back in 2021, 2022, McKinsey wrote that the financial advisor of 2030, so looking ahead to the end of the decade, would be more like, and I'm going to use McKinsey's words because I don't really like the way that they frame this, would be more like a life coach than a financial advisor is today, because of the data, because of the ability to automate a lot of what the financial advisor world is doing. But the only way that that's going to become a reality is a transformation of culture, starting internally. Because otherwise, it'll be a program that is added to the historical operational model of a financial brand, whether it's a community bank or credit union. But we saw what has happened when digital is added as a bolt on to the old business model. You'll make a little bit of progress, but you really don't get that true transformational element there.